Hi everyone, my name is Dave, and welcome to Extra Credit, a video series where we take an unscripted look at topics related to local history and exploring that history. All right, as we normally do at the start of every episode, just a quick reminder to visit my website. You'll find a link in the description there. You'll find all kinds of content related to the topics we take a look at in this video series, and then some, including a section for extra credit. So if you're new to the video series, you haven't seen any episodes, you can go there, take a look at everything that we've done in the past. Or if you've seen extra credit before, you may want to go back and revisit something, or you may want to take in an episode that you missed. Additionally, there's a few little teasers in terms of upcoming episodes. So you're going to see some of the things that we are going to be taking a look at in the coming episodes in the coming months. So make sure you check that out. Additionally, you're going to find me on social media. So you're going to find me on Facebook and you're going to find me on Instagram. And last but not least, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. There is, particularly in the spring and the fall, when we are actively out hiking, there is a lot of content that drops regularly, and sometimes there's a lag. Not sometimes, there is a lag. Sometimes there's a considerable lag from when the content is posted on the YouTube channel and then when it makes it onto social media. And so sometimes that lag can be months, or even up to a year. It takes us some time to get through all of that content on social media. And so if you're subscribed to the channel, if you have the notifications turned on, you are going to get that content just as soon as it is posted on the channel. So as we promised in our previous episode that we would come back to our Getting There series, well, here we are. And ironically enough, this is probably one of the quickest turnarounds that we've done. We actually just filmed the episode a few days ago. Today is Sunday, and we actually filmed the episode on Thursday. So basically what we had done was we were doing what we call a scouting or reconnaissance, or if you want to use the Canadian military term, we were doing a recce for our fall hikes. And so basically I had started doing this last year, and it was essentially some lessons I had taken from all of the years that I had done hiking on the Kinghorn grade. And the dog is moving around here and bumping the camera. It's kind of a foggy morning here at camp. It's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be in the high 20s when the fog eventually burns off. But it is a little bit foggy, but it's okay. It makes for nice even lighting for the video. So in any case, one of the lessons that I learned is that it's a lot easier to do the videos if you've seen an area previously. And I know with the Kinghorn, we had sort of redone some sections simply because there was some new information, but it made it a lot easier when you did the video because you had seen the places before, you knew what to sort of expect. So starting last year, what I did with the Graham line, with the old Grand Trunk line, is that we had done some exploratory drives. So we did a couple of those last year, and the plan was to do at least 2 of them this year. And so we had done one previously back in early July, and we had basically driven from Graham, which we had kind of covered before in one of the drives we did last year. And so last year we had driven basically from Newmac Road, which is by Larson, all the way to Oscar. So the problem is that in order to get back into Oscar, you have to go in by Graham. So that's what we did in the July hike. We came up, we drove up the highway to Graham Road, drove up to Graham, and then drove from Graham all the way past Oscar, Petrie, Corn, and then just north of Corn, there is a big washout on Selwyn Lake. And that's as far as we could go. So the plan this time was to basically drive around. It was going to be a much longer drive. The dog keeps bumping the camera here, and so it just keeps shaking a little bit. I do apologize for that. Luna, stop it. Sorry. She's outside here and the flies are kind of driving her crazy. So in any case, so the plan with this exploration drive was we were going to drive from town and then all the way past Uppsala, which we done on the previous one, record a little bit more in Uppsala since we had the technical difficulty with the camera, and then go to Ignace, which, as you're going to see, is over 100 kilometers past Uppsala, and then turn up the highway that runs to the north, Highway 599, and that will take us up to where the railway grade is, near to a place called Silver Dollar. So because the video is a little bit longer, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so here we go. It's amazing how dark it is now at 5:45 in the morning. So it is an ungodly hour. I was up at 4:45. Woke up around 1 o'clock. Didn't sleep much after that, so a little on the tired side here. So normally, as we did in the previous episode, we kind of have a little bit of a sort of backdoor route that we take to get to the main highway. However, we have to kind of take a little bit of a detour because we do have a visitor joining us today. So I'm on my way to pick up my friend Terry, who will be on the drive with us today. And Terry's been in a previous exploration episode, so he joined us for a hike last year, the one we did over the Matawan River. So we'll have a little bit of accompaniment today. Luna's antsy. No, you cannot look out the window. There's like mosquitoes already in the truck. We don't need any more. Little mist sort of coming down. That's sort of the forecast for today. We might get a few little showers on the way out there. It's supposed to be warm and humid with some showers in the morning potentially, and so it's going to be kind of sticky. It's supposed to be like 27, 28 degrees. There's mosquitoes flying around here. Might be an interesting one today. A little bit of fog. We're going to see some smoke from the forest fires that are going on and that have been sort of affecting good chunks of North America here for the last several months. Some pretty big fires out in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Very dry conditions precipitating those fires. So, in any case, what we're going to do here is we'll switch off here, and then we'll come back on once we've picked up Terry. All right, so we've picked up our co-pilot for today, which is very appropriate since Terry fixes aircraft. Maybe we'll get him to say hi.
Hello.
So you don't think he's the pokeroo or something. You have to be probably over 40 and Canadian to probably understand the pokeroo reference, as Terry and I sort of chuckle about this. So anyway, we are heading out towards Ignace, and then eventually to Silver Dollar. We've never done this route before, so this is kind of an alternate highway out there. This is Highway 102. And I've driven this before. Terry and I have driven this before. Basically what we're doing today, as I mentioned in the introduction, is we're doing a little bit of a scouting mission for my future hikes. And so we actually did one almost a month ago. Yep. So we were out on the July the 9th, and today is August the 7th. And on that previous hike, we basically went from Graham up to where there's a washout just past Corn. And so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be heading up to Ignace, and then turning north on Ignace towards Silver Dollar, and then picking up the railway grade from there, and then driving down to the north side of the washout, and basically exploring from there all the way back to the highway, which should be an interesting adventure, particularly if it's going to be kind of warm and humid. Terry wanted me to stop here.
Yeah, sorry.
So we're going to pull into the Esso here, and what we're going to do is we're going to come back once we get up to Sistinen's Corners. All right, so picked up a little fog here, so we are now approaching. It's actually gotten a little bit better lately, but this was kind of accident central here. So this is a place known as Sistinen's Corners. So basically this is where the highway that we were on, which is Highway 102, and we will have a little discussion about highways a little later on. This is where Highway 102 meets the main highway, which is 1117, and 1117 continues on for a little bit until it eventually splits. And so there was a rash of traffic accidents in the area there for a while. Trucks like blowing through the intersection, which is why they have all of the signage, all of the lights and everything.
They got cameras up now too.
Yeah, there's a traffic camera there. You can check out the intersection as well. So if you go on a bunch of different websites like Ontario 511, you can actually see the traffic cameras and basically see what's kind of going on. I think they're updated like every hour or so. So anyway, so we're now on the main highway, so Highway 1117 West. In our previous episode, we recorded where the highway splits at Chappaqua. Right here, we're coming up to a place called Sunshine, and you can see just beside us to the north, to our right, the tracks of the Canadian Pacific Kansas City. That is their Kaministiquia subdivision. Actually runs up to Ignace, where we are going today, and very familiar to me, very familiar to Terry. Terry's got a place up in Uppsala, which we went up to on our last hike, and for me going out west towards Shibandawon, driving by here all the time. So it is a very, very well-known location. Again, you can see the fog, and again, it's just part of the fact that it's going to be very, very humid today, and I'm sure once the fog lifts, it's probably going to be kind of sticky and warm. Here we're crossing the Matawan River, and you can see the highway bridge, and then you have the railway bridge beside us here. So again, a lot of these places that we're passing used to be stops on the railway back in the day, right? So Sunshine on the Grand Trunk line, the CN line. Ellis Station is just up here. So again, lots of activity in the area. It is a very, very fertile area, so there were lots of farms and things like that along here, basically in the along the river valley. So in any case, what we're going to do is now that you've kind of seen the area a little bit, what we're going to do is we're going to switch off, and we'll come back probably when we get up to Uppsala. All right, so we've made it to Uppsala. If you remember from our previous episode, we did a little bit of recording in Uppsala. Unfortunately, basically we were just able to get a little bit in before the camera died. One of the cameras died, and so we didn't really see much of the community before we had to turn off on North Road. So very important place to Terry. So Terry basically has a place up here, has a camp up here.
It's kind of like home.
Kind of like home. Lots of family connections here for him as well. Your grandfather worked on the railway, right?
Grandfathers, uncles.
Yeah.
And we've had this property for over 100 years.
Yeah. So big family connection for him. So Uppsala, like a lot of the places in the area, essentially was founded as a railway stop. So in this part of the country,
basically where the highways are is, for the most part, with a few exceptions, basically the highways were built alongside the railway lines. And so the communities that you now drive through were originally founded as railway communities, right? So basically leaving Thunder Bay, we passed Sistedens Corners, which was basically an intersection between, at one time, 3 railway lines. And then back we passed Wraith, which was a stop on both the Canadian Pacific and the Grand Trunk. Uppsala was a stop on the Canadian Pacific, now Canadian Pacific Kansas City, which you can see here. And then we're going up to Ignace, and Ignace was yet another stop, so it was the next major stop after Uppsala. And yeah, again, when you travel through this part of the country, you're going to get a lot of the places were not created when the highway was built. They actually date back to the railway times, right? So they're much, much older, right? So
Excuse me.
the Canadian Pacific Railway was built through this area in the late 1870s. So some of these places have been here for a very, very long time. Now, what's interesting is we've been driving for a bit, and on our last episode, our last driving adventure, we basically turned off here at Uppsala, and then we drove up Newmack Road to the railway grade. Just to give you an idea of the distances, you can see the sign as we're just passing here. Ignace is 106 kilometers from here. So we have literally almost another hour of driving before we actually turn off onto the secondary highway to drive up to the railway grade. So again, just kind of gives you an idea of some of the distances that are involved here in northwestern Ontario. On our last scouting mission that we did back in July, that Terry and I did, we drove up to Graham, and Graham Road is just up ahead here. We drove off, and again, there's a good, what do you figure, Terry? It's about a half an hour drive up Graham Road.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
To get to
Graham Station or whatever.
To get to Graham Station, to get to the railway grade. So again, some really, really big distances involved in some of these explorations. This is the longest one that I've done. I've driven through Ignace before on my way to Winnipeg. Have you ever gone up 599 before?
Years ago.
Okay.
And I was just going to say to you too, like after we get off the highway at Ignace, it's probably going to be another 40-ish minutes up to Silver Dollar.
Yeah.
And then where we want to get to, it's about, I don't know, about 5 to 8 kilometers before you get to Silver Dollar is where the railway crosses.
Yes.
The highway.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yeah.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll switch off here, and then we'll come back to things once we get up to Ignace. Okay, so we've arrived in the sprawling metropolis of Ignace. We had to kind of go a little bit past where we needed to turn off. Terry made a little stop at the gas station. So basically, you can see a little bit of the community here now. I would be remiss without saying that it's been a couple of bad days here. So on Tuesday, there was an accident between here and Dryden, and so the highway was closed for probably a good 17 hours or so between the two communities, because there was unfortunately a fatal accident.
1.5 kilometers. Turn left on 599.
And then yesterday, there unfortunately was yet another accident, this time on the highway that we're going to be driving on, which is a secondary highway which goes to the north, which is Highway 599. And so that highway was closed between 6:30 and almost 5 o'clock, and sadly it was yet another fatal accident. Certainly condolences to the families of the people that were involved. That is one of these sad realities, not to try to get political. We don't
800 meters,
really do that on
turn
this
left on 599.
channel, on this series. But one of the sad realities of northwestern Ontario here is some of these highways are notorious for some of the accidents that occur on them. It is kind of antsy here. We've got another 39 minutes to drive here before we turn off onto the railway grade. So this is Highway 599. So
turn left on 599.
We'll wait for the GPS to finish doing its thing here, because it's going to tell us to keep driving straight for another whatever.
Continue on 599.
Continue on 599. Okay, so basically, I mentioned earlier we're going to do a quick little thing about highways here in Ontario. So essentially, there's different classifications of highways. So the top classification would be your 400 series highways that you're going to find in southern Ontario, particularly around Toronto. And so you have things like the 401, which is probably one of the most famous highways here in Canada. It's actually one of the busiest highways in North America. Oh God, we get a train of all things.
That's that one that we passed.
So this is the Canadian Pacific, Kansas City. I don't know what the subdivision is on the other side of Ignace, but this is the end of the Kaministiquia subdivision here in Ignace. So anyway, so you have the 400 series highway. Those are sort of the top tier highways, and then you have the next tier, which is basically, I don't know how many of them there are, but the big one that's in this area we just got off of, which is Highway 11 and Highway 17. So basically, Highway 17 starts in Sudbury. So basically, Highway 400 comes north of Toronto to Barrie. At Barrie, Highway 400 becomes Highway 69, which goes to Sudbury. Highway 11 that goes to North Bay. Highway 11 continues all the way to Nipigon. At Sudbury, you get onto Highway 17, and that continues to Nipigon. And so Highway 11 and 17 come together in Nipigon. They continue as such until west of Thunder Bay at Chappaqua, where they split. We looked at in our previous episode. And then Highway 17, which we were just on, continues to the north, and Highway 11 goes to the south. There are some other highways that fit into that classification. So for example, the highway running south of the Thunder Bay, Highway 61, which we were on when we did our little visit to Minnesota. The train is going slow here because it's entering the siding and the station at Ignace.
Stopping.
So now it's like completely stopped, which is fantastic. Just makes our journey even a little bit longer here. And so there's Highway 61. There's Highway 72, I think is the same classification, which runs from Dryden up to Sioux Lookout. There's Highway 71, which runs between, is that the one that runs between Rainy River and Kenora, right?
I think so.
Okay. And then there's the next classification, which is kind of like your 500 and 600 series highways, or the 100 series highways, right? So this is I think maybe the 100 series highways fit into a different classification, but these are secondary highways. So this is Highway 599. This runs up to Savant Lake, I think. And then there's a highway that comes off of this at Silver Dollar, which is Highway 642, and that runs up to Sioux Lookout. And so there's all kinds of different classifications. So this is considered a highway, but these 500 series, 600 series highways generally have lower speeds on them. They aren't maintained the same. They don't generally have the same alignment that the major highways would, right? So basically, that's why the speed is lower on them. They're not 90 kilometers an hour. They usually things like 80 kilometers an hour, just simply because you can't drive as quickly. There's lots of curves and turns and things like that, which, not to speculate, but may have helped to potentially precipitate the accident that happened yesterday here on this stretch of highway, which was, again, very, very unfortunate. Okay, so we're not sure how long we're going to have to wait here. So we're going to shut off, and then we're going to come back once we get to the where the railway grade crosses the highway. All right,
In
so
1.5 kilometers, arrive at Highway 599 access on the left.
all right, so you heard the GPS. So basically in just over a kilometer, we are going to be arriving at the railway crossing. So basically where the railway line once crossed Highway 599. You can see the sign right here, Valora Road. Valora is the next station to the west. The next station to the east is Unaka. So again, the Grand Trunk Pacific had alphabetically named stations. So here is the railway grade itself.
Arriving at Highway 599
They just did
access
some grading on
the
here.
left.
Look at this, it's like a highway. All right, so here we are turning on to the railway grade. I need to pause and turn on. We're gonna actually, what we'll do is we'll pull up to this spot right here, and both Terry and I need to make a little pit stop. Maybe the dog does too. So what we'll do is we will pause the cameras momentarily and resume once we get going here again.
So, as with our previous episode, the one that we drove to Uppsala, there is an extended version of this, simply because what happened is once we got to the railway grade by Silver Dollar, normally that's where we would stop things because we were going to do sort of an exploration hike or whatever we were planning to do. Because we were driving, I continued to record some of the grade. So make sure you check out the extended version. There's a link in the description now, just to kind of give you a little bit of a teaser, particularly if you watch the exploration videos as well, you're going to see a few sections of the grade. So I'll let you have a look at those.
So here you might get some views of the river. Let's see what you can see on the camera here, on the front facing camera. Hopefully you can see something. Maybe we'll do this, we'll point you a little bit in that direction. Hopefully you can see the river okay. You can see it's just a massive, massive body of water. The breeze is so nice. I see Luna's kind of soaking it in too.
At least we were able to dodge that weather. That was good.
Yeah. Let's point you this way a little bit again. So hopefully you can see the river. Again, it flows to the north. Surprising given the amount of rain that.
Yeah. Like you said though, maybe something opened up.
Rocking road. See how much better you can see things when the sun goes behind a cloud.
Oh yeah.
And again, gives you an idea of when we do these railway hikes, why I try to do things when it's cloudier. Just completely evens out the light and makes it a lot easier to see things. Might get another shot of the river here. And then we'll turn off and then we'll get back on when we get to Eva Lake. View of the river here. Hopefully you can kind of see things really well. Okay, so let's turn her off, and then we'll come back when we get to Eva Lake. All right, here we go. So we're making our way across this very, very large bridge over Eva Lake. This bridge was rebuilt 1967, 1968. Don't mind me while I put both hands on the wheel and stare intently ahead, because first of all, this freaks me out a bit. And the last thing that Terry and I want to do is end up in the lake.
Or at the bottom.
Yeah, particularly at the bottom of the lake. You will notice the fire barrel platforms on the one side, and then the, yeah, just throw my GPS on top.
Yep.
And then the little contraptions here for the telegraph wires. And so right here, just off to the west side, there was actually a couple of structures, I'm guessing section houses, and there was actually a water tank right here where this guy has just sort of vacated his truck. And we're going to pull over and have a look at that. Hopefully this guy doesn't mind.
Talk nicely.
We're going to explain ourselves. You can actually see the bottom part of the water tank there.
So hopefully you enjoyed those little teasers of the grade. So you saw a little bit of the English River. You saw a little bit of the big bridge over Eva Lake. Again, make sure you check out the extended version with the link in the description. So if you want to see a little bit more of the grade, I do have to say a big thank you to my friend Terry, who accompanies me on these exploration drives. You know, Terry and I have been friends for a long time, and we've hiked together for a long time. We're obviously a little bit older now than we were when we first started doing some of these things back in our teens. And so looks like it's lightening up a little bit here. Maybe the sun will eventually come out as the fog burns off. In any case, as you saw in the video, unfortunately, there was kind of a little bit of a somber sort of note with regard to the exploration, with the two accidents that occurred, the one on the main highway 1117 on the Tuesday, and then the accident that happened on 599 on the Wednesday. And again, you know, I kind of talked a little bit about it in the video. Certainly a very, very sad situation for the people and the families that were involved with those incidents. And again, just some of the difficulties that we experience here with the highways up in northwestern Ontario. In any case, again, it was a very, very productive situation. There was a lot of great things that we saw. It was long. You don't realize how long it took. So basically, the drive was over 3 hours to go from home, pick Terry up, and then go to the railway grade, and then obviously having to do that in reverse. And so I literally left the house at 5:45 in the morning. I did not get home until 20 after 10 at night. Obviously, we stopped and grabbed a little food at the Silver Dollar Resort, which I'm going to be staying at in October when I do the exploration hikes. And certainly the food was very, very good, but kind of gives you an idea of the time frame that was involved and how long it took. So the section of grade that we drove was 26 miles, and it's just amazing how long it takes you, and how time consuming all of that is, but certainly very, very productive. We were able to basically see the grade. We did shoot a little drone footage at the washout on Selwyn Lake for the exploration series. When we get to that particular point, we saw a lot of things. I wish there was some milepost markers and stuff that we were able to see. We didn't see any of those, but certainly a lot of telegraph poles, particularly ones with the car length indicators on them. We were able to check out all of the bridges on the line. We were actually able to explore the 4 stations on the line, so Reba, Soden, Tan, and Yanaka, and basically get a little bit of an idea of those. did pretty good with Reba and Soden, Tannen, and we weren't able to see much Yanaka. We didn't even take a look. It was just so heavily grown in, so we're gonna have to wait till the fall time to be able to do that. So in any case, hopefully you enjoyed the video. This was supposed to be the last in kind of this sort of sub series, because it was like, well, where else do I need to drive to? But I'm going to sort of temper that a little bit, because I was thinking in my head, once we kind of start wrapping up this portion a little bit, I haven't did a drive on, to going to a hike on the old Port Arthur Duluth and Western, the PD. So I was thinking, well, maybe I should do one on that, driving, Highway 588, Northern Lights Road. So maybe we can look at one of those in the future, and then who else knows what other things await me once I start to wrap up this particular topic that I'm working on right now. So we will eventually be back with another episode at some point. You might have to wait a while to see another one of these driving videos. But in any case, we have other videos in this series that are coming up. Our next one is going to be a little bit of an interesting one, because we're going to talk a little bit about the process of actually doing the type of hiking that I do. And so make sure you stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up in October. So in any case, thanks for tuning into the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the drive. Hopefully you enjoyed all of the things that we're able to see. Make sure you check out the exploration series, and so you can see some of the things that we're going to be doing and some of the places that we're going to be visiting. So in any case, in the meantime, while you're waiting for the next episode, take care and stay safe.